says he has some rope.
My stream is on.
Thank you, Stephen. Was that you?
Yes, sorry, John. 1 sec. I'm just in another meeting here.
So Fred has the line that we have to replace. I found an air bazooka that we can use in the club. Now we just have to organize some people that could go and replace the wiring or the rope that's about to break up at the clubhouse 160 meter. So I think the last time it got repaired, it was Doug, Tom, and I up there. I'm going to be away for a little while, so I can't do it in the near future. But if we can work out getting the bazooka from Rob and getting the rope or whatever it's called from Fred.
Tom Apps has also got a bazooka.
He does.
Tom should be joining us shortly. He was in the other meeting.
Okay.
There's Freddie.
You have audio, Fred?
Yes, I do. Sorry. I'm trying to multitask here. But yeah, I'll get the rope to Gord.
Okay. If you're going to get the rope to Gord, Tom?
We may make a run up to the clubhouse and drop that off. I wouldn't mind pulling that 751A HF radio out of there and give it a try.
Okay. So, Tom, I was just told you have a bazooka?
He's not here.
We lost him.
There he
He
is.
has a poor connection. Wait a moment. Hopefully he comes back in.
The only downside I see to the bazooka approach is there's some halyards that are still up there that should probably also be replaced. And I don't think we will have any success in getting them down without a climber.
Okay, is that on the 160?
Yeah, on the 160 loop at Cedar Creek.
I think we should touch base with Darcy. He gave me the name of one of the search and rescue guys that is a climber. He took our course about 3 or 4 years ago, but I am damned if I can remember his name.
Okay, if we can get the rope from Fred over to Gord, and Gord, you can try to get in touch with this guy and see if he can help. And if he's not available, is there any work we could do with the bazooka in replacing some of the lines that may break?
Gord, I think the name that Darcy gave you was Matt March. Matthew March.
March as in marching?
March as in the month after February.
Okay, and it's Mark.
And Matt's, Matt has a business for tree, whatever, removal, all that kind of stuff. So he's very well experienced, good climber, all that kind of stuff. I might, if I get up to Cedar Creek, I might just take a look at it. I'm just not familiar with just how crazy this setup is.
Well, I don't mind Fred dropping the rope off at my place for furthering up to the club station, but I'm not going to get involved with this exercise.
There was a question of what could be done with just a cannon. I'm not sure what the state of it is after the last repair. I haven't seen it. But if there are any halyards that are not up currently, those could definitely be done with a bazooka, I would think.
Tom, was there a repair after the time you and Doug and I were there?
have lost all video. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just like a screen for everybody. The metal. Anyways, whatever. Yeah, I've been there 2 or 3 times to help tie things up as halyard by halyard break. I think we either have no original halyards up now. It's just all tied to the tree. I don't think anything. My tennis ball launcher will go over most of those trees.
Okay, Rob Hatch also has a large launcher. He's going over 110-foot trees on his property, and he said we can use it also.
Yeah, okay, yeah, mine will easily shoot over 100. The issue is it's the amount of fishing line I can have on the spool because, of course, it's 100 feet going up and 100 feet going down. So you run out of fishing line pretty quick.
What Tess, is your fishing line 50-pound or more?
I use 10-pound because I can get more on the reel, and then I pull up 30-pound with that. And then I can pull up heavier stuff after that. It's a sequence.
Okay. So if Fred, you can get over to Gord, you can let us know, Gord, when we have it. Then we'll try to find some volunteers or the climber, Mark, and we can see what we can do.
Sounds good. It's my rope, but I'll donate some of it. I forget how much I have. I think it's 500 feet of the Dacron, but if you stay below 200, you can have it, I guess. But use whatever you need to use.
Okay. Is there anyone in this group available to help out with this task? I'll put my name forward, but it won't be for a couple weeks before I can help out. And Tom, look like we would need you if you're using your bazooka.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hang on. I just got a message. Doug would like to speak. Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, just the same situation. If it's a couple weeks from now, I can probably help out in some capacity.
I'll be back in a few moments.
Okay.
I can likely help out, but I'm not certain that I can commit to any specific date. So it would be a short notice kind of thing.
Sounds good.
I could probably help out too.
Who was that? I was busy writing.
That's Chris V7EQN.
Okay, Chris, thank you. I'm trying to take some notes for tonight's meeting.
Yeah, and I can probably help too, VA7NRG.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, the next item for discussion is the tech committee. We have a tech committee, but there's no membership list of who's on the tech meeting. So whenever we're having a tech meeting, the emails get blasted out to everybody. I was just wondering if someone can give us some past history of who's on, who's not on, and how do we organize or create a tech committee within our organization, or should we? Okay, Tom, that's enough.
Tom. Have you talked to Alan? He used to keep attendance records. He has all the names in a little spreadsheet of who was going to tech meetings, and he checked them off, so he should know who attended most of them, their email addresses and the like. But the tech committee invite really should go to all the members because it's an open forum.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second what Jeff said. Alan Norse has a list of people who generally attend the meeting, but the actual committee is just sort of whoever shows up.
So it's very loosey-goosey.
Alan Norris used to have a list of names too.
Okay, I'll try to get in touch with Alan and figure out what we have going on there.
Now, everybody, this is brand new sourdough homemade bread by Allison, and of course, we're gonna have some wine with it. So everybody, go to your wine closet now and get your bottle out and something to eat. This is the new way we do it.
School. You
This
bring
is the tech
something
meeting news.
to school, you share it with everybody. You should have shipped the wine first.
Why have you got a black screen, John? Your camera's not working?
My camera's on, I'm seeing it.
I'm not seeing you. Anybody else seeing a black screen?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see John either. I see most people, but not John or Doug.
Yeah.
And then Jeff is frozen.
Right now, I
What?
see Rob, John, and Gary, you disappeared, then you came back.
Yeah, I don't see John, Doug, or John.
And all I got here now is Stephen and Tom. Everyone else went black screen.
Now, Chris, what have you done with your camera? You look like you're put on about 50 pounds.
I'm using a tablet, actually.
Sure, blame the tablet.
Have you put on 50 pounds because of COVID?
I don't think so. It's just the angle that the camera's looking at me at.
Yeah, the camera should be above you or at eye level or something. Otherwise, it gives you about 2 or 3 chins.
How about this? Is it any better?
You lost 50 pounds right there.
So to go back to my question and Ray, so in this organization, we really don't have a tech committee, but we have a group of people that get together, whoever there is on the tech committee for that day. Is that correct?
It's been very, when Alan Norris used to kind of head it up, he just had a list of names who were people that regularly showed up. But yeah, some people would almost think it was an exclusive club or something, but of course it isn't. But yeah, it definitely should be something that published that to the whole club, so that nobody feels like they're being left out.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I've chaired a couple of these, and it's one question I kind of had, and I've been asked myself, so I'm just trying to have an understanding how the club is organized and is run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next item will be a technical challenge here. Gord sent to me an Excel spreadsheet, and when I tried sharing it earlier, it would not share. And this is going over the gaming application and looking. So let's try to see if Gord can share this spreadsheet for us again. And with everyone's help, we'll try to go through my understanding with the executive, even though with what's all happening with the COVID-19, we most likely won't get anything on a gaming application, but we want to just keep letting them not forget about us and keep on applying each year and see what happens with the process. We may get something, we may not get something. Is there any questions with applying with the gaming application this year? You're looking good part way there, Gord. Just gotta minimize your Jitsu meeting. Stephen, can you help with what has happened with Gord's screen?
Yeah, he just needs to minimize his Jitsi Meet window because it's seeing itself.
There we go. Gord, can you lead us through this, please? Did we lose the audio for Gord?
Oh, Gord, you're going to have to go back to your Jitsi window and just unmute yourself by clicking the microphone at the bottom. You won't be able to use space as press to talk when you're not in the Jitsi window.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. I can.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a spreadsheet I put together based on a list of wish items that Fred had generated. So I'll basically let him speak to it, other than the fact that I just broke it down into my idea of where I thought the items would fit, sort of thing. So just kicking it off, Fred, go ahead and cover off the club stations, if you would.
Okay, so this is again a dream list, right? So if we're going a little overboard here, but just throwing out some ideas, the sort of the maximum of what you could possibly justify, and then we can scale back from there. But with some of the MMDVM repeaters now coming online and being online in the area, the thought was that we should maybe think about a DMR mobile for Ellison and for Shoot Lake. That is the DMR Anytone mobile, the AT578 UV. So we just threw in two. The HF antenna tuner is for Ellison. That is an ongoing thing to add 40 meters and 80 meters out there. And the thought was that we could do something with a wire antenna hanging off of the tower in the tree area there, just as a sloper. And the FTM 300 radios, we had purchased a bunch of FTM 400 radios, of which we are using 4 right now to link to the repeaters for our Wires X hosting. There is one that is sort of a grab and go kit, but that could be deployed out here in Ellison as a base station as well. And there's one at Cedar Creek at Shoot Lake there that is installed in the shack. So ASU does not make, the original thought was to buy FTM 100s and replace the link radios with the cheaper radio, but they no longer make that radio. So the cheapest radio that's capable of linking is the 300, and it's actually a dual codec radio, so it can receive 2 digital channels simultaneously. And the thought was to make those grab and go kits, because we've kind of gutted the grab and go kits to add linking capability. So we threw in for 4, but that could be scaled back as well. Another nice thought was potentially, in public relations and search and rescue environments and other things that we're doing out there in the community. Yaesu has the camera microphones, and you can send a picture back to, if you have the mobile with a color screen, you get a color picture. It's lower resolution than your iPhone is, but it certainly, you can send a picture via Little White, so it's pretty low bandwidth, but that's a thought. Then we put in for 6 diamond antennas. That seems to be the standard for linking and repeaters. We've pretty much consumed everything that we've had in stock. Put in 4 little mini computers, and Stephen has gone out and bought one himself. They're around $250, perhaps $300. And he's using that little computer to run the Wires X node that he's hosting for the club. I myself am using 3 of my computers here, and they burn through about $300 to $400 in power a year. And that's one of the reasons we were thinking, if whenever there is funding, if my suggestion would be to buy the one off of Stephen or reimburse him for his cost and replace the other supplied computers with smaller computers that can run off 12 volts and a battery bank and a solar panel. But again, we can stretch that for a little while. We also put in for an RCOM controller, fully loaded, because we don't know how long they're going to be manufactured, and that would act as a spare. The Davis weather station is a nice to have. It was something that was suggested by Parks. They would love to see a weather station since we have so much network connectivity, but it's not necessary. I myself have just recently got my hand on some weather vanes that we might be able to tie into and get some wind speed and direction. So just threw that in for padding. If it's possible, it would be nice. Could certainly go on the website as well. The filters, that's US dollars, and that price had fluctuated wildly based on aluminum pricing due to Mr. Trump. I believe it's a little higher than that for the VHF filter, but we currently still need some filters for Okanagan Mountain. I've lent some filters. We currently have no UHF filters. And so that is something that we've promised all of the users up at the site that we would be putting in filtering on our equipment, that it could never go out of band. Raspberry Pis, that is if we want to do more all-star linking. And the all-star node is all-star node board so that we could add some linking capability to our analog repeaters and controllers. The Samlex chargers, the one at Okanagan Mountain that's currently running everything is the one that I supplied. And we were thinking of putting a sort of a main and a backup in and replacing that. Webcams is nice to have. In the meantime, we've received some used cameras that we can repurpose. But that could also be used for mounting them or housings. Yaser repeaters, we put those in at full cost. They're currently still available at a massive discount. I think $700 US for the DR2 with the IMRS board. You can get into a DR1 for still $400 US. They're still available at that price. And then the portable generator, that was bounced around, and the consensus was not to buy an EU 3000 because we had the EU 3000 stolen, but if there was funding to go for another EU 2000, they can be ganged together, and it just gives you more flexibility and diversity by being able to run, well, 2 generators on 2 different locations. And I think that speaks to pretty much everything.
Just to butt in, the current EU 2000 we have, I believe it is not linkable with the other one. There's no place to connect them together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't looked into that. I don't know if you need both of them to have that, but in any case, I think there's a lot you can do with an EU 2000, and linking isn't not necessarily needed. But if it can be done by buying one that links and this one can link to it, I'm not sure if that's how it works. Then you'd have 4,000 watts if you ever needed it.
Yeah, I can't imagine us using 4,000 unless we're trying to run an air conditioner for some strange reason.
Yeah, the EU 3000, while it is the most beautiful generator, and I'd love to have one myself to back up my house, wasn't really a one-man generator to load or unload. So the EU 2000 pretty much has done everything that, at least, even installing repeaters and running cutoff saws and everything else, it's done all of that fine.
It looks like you need the 2000i for linking, and they both need to be that model.
Okay, so they would be separate generators then. Not linkable.
R2000, what model do we have?
We have, well, it's the inverter, the EU 2000, but not linkable. It's an older model, I guess.
Okay, there are 2 ways to link a 2000. The nice fancy way that's a little more money, and then there's a more economical method that I think will link any of the 2000s together. That's only about $150, but you don't get full power out that way, but you do get more power than 2000. You got it up on their website, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm looking at the parallel options for the EU series. They specify using parallel cables. They do not specify how much that costs. But they say that if they are not the I version and you try and do it anyway, you will get varying AC voltage.
Okay.
Now the other
It is
option,
not recommended.
if you're running 2 generators, which is what I've done at work, because I borrowed the clubs actually for one major power outage as we were wiring in our brand new 90 kilowatt generator. So it gets a little bit of use. Is just split your loads. Run the air conditioner on one EU2000 and run your radio gear on the other EU2000 and computer gear. So you don't have to split them, is what I'm trying to say.
The nice thing about the 2000, they're a lot lighter and easier to pack around.
That was the thought. It's a one-man job. It's super lightweight. I think they're under 70 pounds.
Okay, what has happened in the past year, Gord? Has the tech committee taken a list like this and then presented it to the executive for going off on gaming application, or?
Am I still online?
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, the wish list was put together, and I think basically, because it's a wish list, we never know what we're going to get anyway. Then the whoever was preparing the application kind of ran with it, keeping the executive informed of what the bottom line figure was, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen. I haven't been directly involved for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, that is how we've done it historically. However, at the last general meeting, we empowered the executive to proceed with the application
So should
under the guidance of the technical committee. So we don't need to go back to the membership.
So should the tech committee members of who's here tonight okay and present this, have a motion to give it to the executive to go and run with it?
Yeah, we don't do motions at the technical committee, but we can endorse it. I have one other thing that doesn't seem to have made the list here that I know Darcy was working on. I don't know how widespread it was, but he was working on a replacement for the antenna switching system at Cedar Creek with filtering and remote capabilities to allow us to use the remote radios there more effectively. I don't know how far he's gotten with that, though, and unfortunately he's not here tonight.
Okay. The other question I have is up at Big White, we've been having some issues with the repeater. I don't see anything here for replacing Big White. Is this something that needs to be added?
I suspect that if we were to purchase more DR2X repeaters, either one of those would go to Big White or they would replace a repeater that could go to Big White.
So we don't have to add that here then.
In terms of building the wish list, I think we've got ample in there for this year. We can always reprioritize once we get the bottom line grant, sort of thing.
Okay, sounds good. Any more discussion or questions on this?
Yeah. I noticed that Fred put an ARCOM controller on for Okanagan Mountain. We used to have 3 of these things floating around, and I can only account for 2 of them. One of them's at OK Mountain, one of them's at 6-2. And I'm wondering if one of them went missing with our grab and go kits, and whether we should add that to the list and maybe get that third one back up again, because right now we got nothing for spares if we have troubles. It would be nice to get another RCOM sitting on the bench ready to go. But,
What is the cost for that, Jeff?
probably about $800, I think. We don't need the auto patch on it, which is a couple of $100.
So I should change this to 2 then?
Yeah, I would think so.
Leave the figures alone or the same?
Well, Yeah, make it 2.
Oh, I guess I don't have my formulas in there.
I
Oh, yeah.
was saying, numbers changed, did they?
It's in there. Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Numbers all changed. Look good.
Yep.
Now, the one thing that I said earlier about this being a wish list, the one thing that maybe we should consider is putting everything in that we think we would like, have it identified as having been requested, and then it gives us the flexibility of dropping off what we want to drop off rather than trying to divert funds to something we didn't ask for, because we have to account for that money after the fact with gaming. I don't know whether I've made myself clear on that or not.
You trying to
Oh,
tell
so
us?
if I understand, it would be like a priority.
At this point, I'm suggesting we build a list on what we collectively would like, maybe pare it down a little bit for the final numbers, but try to include everything that we would like so that when we get our grant, we can then prioritize our available funds, and it's covered by the original application, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, in other words, if it's not on the list now, we don't spend it on that later.
Well, this is just a cautionary thing. We've had pretty good flexibility of late on how we spent the money, and we've never really been challenged. But it's my understanding they're tightening up quite a bit all the time. They're now wanting quotes on items put together rather than just a ballpark figure. So I've tried to identify sources and costs, in most cases, Canadian prices. I'm not too sure about all these prices in blue. These were prices that came forward from Fred, and I'm not sure whether they were converted prices or U.S. prices.
I think everything is Canadian prices except for the Olds filters, which are U.S. prices, and they would be the number one priority for myself for Okanagan Mountain, because that's the commitment we made.
Okay.
So, Gord, can you take your 159 and move it to the U.S. column?
Where are we here?
Come down 2 rows and go to the right.
Line 17.
Think the U.S. is in the first column before that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no, I realize that. I'm just trying to figure out how I had the formulas set up.
Okay.
I have to go in and amend this. I can't remember what I was. Well, I never had any U.S. prices in there, so I didn't have a U.S. exchange.
Okay.
So what? So that's going to equal.
Correction: the UHF filter is $219. The VHF filter is correct.
VHF, correct? Okay.
219 US for UHF.
What did I do here?
Let's go up to your E17.
UHF with
219 in there.
219?
That's correct.
Okay. I will tinker with this later.
Okay.
So there's no other U.S. prices there, Fred?
Just go up to the Anytone mobile. I think that might be US. That is, Canadian. You've got to convert it. Okay.
Well, yeah, okay. I better check that.
Okay, we'll leave this one with you, Gord. Is there any other
Those,
questions?
those prices are Canadian. My formula is 1.41 for conversion. So column E reflects the converted Canadian price. The US price was 400. So I'm working in the wrong columns down here to change this.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on, fellas.
Is there any more discussion on the spreadsheet here? Okay, Gord, I'll ask you if you'll stop sharing.
Yeah, just one more before we leave this. Ian or Stephen, is there any need for additional ham-wham equipment?
We potentially need a link radio to go to Campbell Mountain. It would be up to Penticton to provide the equipment at Campbell Mountain, but we would need a link radio to point in that direction.
From Okanagan?
From Okanagan. We have a sector up there pointed in that direction right now, but that's not suitable for linking.
Okay, could you generate the cost of that hardware? So I can add it in here?
Maybe just a question in terms of if we're using maintenance and ongoing upgrades and that sort of thing, is there any requirements for any cabling of any kind?
For any what?
Either cabling, either coax, DC, control cables, anything like that?
Well, I think one thing that should be added in as a minimum would be a spool of coax. LMR 400 probably.
Okay,
That's the kind that evaporates.
Thank you for bringing that up, Gary. Let's add a spool of cable. Any other suggestions or items that should be added?
I was just going to suggest, if we're not looking at the EU 3000, to possibly change that to just 2 EU 2200s.
I think the generator's really got to be the bottom of the list too. We really don't necessarily need one.
No,
because we have one portable unit and we have the fixed unit at Cedar Creek, and if things really got out of hand, I suspect we would be able to purchase another repeater or another generator on short notice if we needed to.
I think that was agreement from our previous tech meeting that it is a low priority item, but if we're asking for stuff, we can add it on with the knowledge that it's the first item to get chopped off if things are getting chopped off.
yeah, I would just suggest putting what we want in there. If our plan is to use the companion and link them together, then just put that one in there.
So
Ask
we're
for 2
looking
of
at
them.
1 or 2 here.
I would say 2, and then they're able to be linked together.
I got an asterisk in there to check because I don't know what it is at the moment.
You might want to amend the model number to be with an I for India. That's the linkable version of that generator.
EUI, is it, Stephen?
Echo Uniform 2000 India.
They're surprisingly affordable at $1,399.
Is that Canadian?
Yes, on Honda's website. I'm surprised because at one point they were close to $2,000.
I
And
got
if you're
my
ready, I have
for
plan numbers for
2,000.
you.
Okay, let's move on. Round the clock again, Stephen. Any items for the tech committee tonight?
Yeah, I have a few things that got addressed last week. One is, I believe Darcy visited the Orchard Repeater site and took a look at the IP telephone module that's there connected to the auto patch and determined that the DC barrel jack is defective, ultimately meaning that if it is bumped or moved, it often loses power. He didn't have the equipment with him to repair it, so it's left on site and it is working at the moment. However, the auto patch does not seem to be working the way we would expect it to. We haven't successfully been able to dial in or out of the repeater. But we're not sure how the repeater is configured, so that would sort of be over to Jeff, I believe, at this point.
Your comments, Jeff?
You're talking at the Orchard Repeater here?
Yes, at the Orchard Repeater site.
The last time I looked, the telephone cord from the patch to the controller also had a broken plug on it, and I was going to replace it. I haven't been down there, and that may also be causing some problems. But when you say it's not responding, you're dialing into it or out of it? Which way were you going?
Oops, sorry. I have tried both directions. I've tried dialing in. I don't have the number for dialing in handy here, but I can get that to you. And I have tried dialing out, and dialing out gives me a fast, busy signal, which we believe to be coming from the IP adapter. And dialing in, it just never answers. The repeater does nothing over the air.
Okay, it could be the coding. The RCOM is kind of weird. I think the access code is C0 and C1 or something silly. I'd have to look up again. It's been so long.
Yeah, those appear to try and bring up the auto patch, but we don't know if it's doing something silly like limiting the length of the number or anything like that.
No, well, let me look. Let me see what the programming says.
And while we're on the same subject of that repeater, I did some extensive investigation last week into trying to get the remote serial port to work. And the outcome of that is it is not going to work at this time. In one of the recent firmware versions that RCOM released, they changed the baud rate that it supports to make programming the repeater controller faster.
Yes.
And when they did that, they've added some weird auto negotiation process to try and check if you're still trying to use the old baud rate or if you're trying to use the higher baud rate and make it still work. And that just completely breaks the remote serial port interface. It causes it to reset a bunch of times rapidly, and you lose a bunch of the data that's sent over the serial port.
That makes sense because I could access it and I could actually send it, say, a reset command to which it would react. But if I tried anything of a longer duration, it was screwed up completely.
Yeah, and that's the exact same result that I got. And I sniffed both the serial traffic and the network traffic, and that's what's happening is it's getting reset by this weird handshake process that the repeater's trying to do now.
Okay, didn't know that.
So I don't know if a different serial to IP interface would fix that problem or not, or if we would see that with every serial to IP adapter. I believe Fred has some other ones that we might be able to test with, but I don't have anything like that around here.
On your Oh, what's the name of that COM port emulator on your computer? Did you try matching the speeds there to the controller?
Yes, I tried forcing the baud rate on this end, and that didn't make a difference. Every time I started the connection with hardware, it triggers this negotiation process, which causes it to reset the serial adapter.
No, we can't talk to our you see what we say.
Yeah, I'm trying to log in, but I'm missing something. There's an error in the link, so it should be tech meeting with no space at the end. All right, we'll try that.
Sounds like Gord's got a radio on and he's grabbing the audio. So your mic's not muted.
And then to circle back around to the auto patch, we do have it working that you can call the auto patch from a Jitsi meeting if we want to include a repeater in a Jitsi meeting again in the future. However, that will not work until we get the repeater to actually work with the auto patch. But the Jitsi meeting has a phone number that can be called by that IP adapter. So once we get the auto patch to be able to dial out, we can do that.
According to my stuff here, the answer code is just 1234, so that would be the one over the air. After 2 rings, and the timeout is 120 seconds, but I think that timeout is just as nobody answers it, it disconnects.
Does it give an indication over the air when the line is ringing?
I don't know. It should, but I don't really know.
Okay, in its current state, it does not. If we dial the number, so I don't know if that is the intended behavior or if that means that maybe that telephone cable is not connected correctly.
I suspect that could be the problem, that it's loose. Let me replace that, and then we can chat again.
Okay.
Is there any more items, Stephen?
I believe that is the extent of what I have looked at this week.
Thank you, Stephen. Now we'll move to the right to Neil. No audio from you, Neil.
Oh, I'm still here. I'm just listening in.
Anything for the tech committee tonight?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Chris, do you have anything for the tech meeting tonight?
The only thing I can think of is that I think we want to implement PL on the Dilworth repeater eventually on the encode and decode. So I think that's an ongoing project. I think Tom's interested in doing that, and I'm willing to help him with it.
Tom, is that okay?
Yes, we should definitely do that because, man, that radio keeps getting knocked open by interference. How much warning do we want to give everybody before we go ahead and do it? In other words, do we want to stick something on our website that it will happen on a certain date, or send some emails out? Is there a procedure that should be followed? Like what do other clubs do when they want to put tones on something that doesn't have a tone, I guess is the question.
I think the Penticton Club did it internally at one of their meetings, and one of our members was a member of the Penticton told me, then I put it on, then I had to take it off because they can't quite do it just yet. But the communication that we sent an email to all of our club members saying it's going to happen on a date, and I can copy that email and put it on the website and put it on Facebook, then that would be communicating to everybody. I see Gord has his hand up.
I was just going to say we could put an announcement on the repeater when it's done too, so that anybody monitoring it would hear it, would they not?
Not if they're don't.
We have
Actually,
Stephen
no,
with
they
his
would
hand
hear it,
up.
wouldn't they? Yeah, they'd hear that. If they don't have the tone on, then they would hear it. Yeah, okay, that would work, I think.
Yeah, that would work. You just put it's part of the ID.
Stephen,
I was
you
just
had a
going to
question?
comment that I just updated the frequency record on our website to include it requires that 88.5 hertz tone, because if you start transmitting that now, it really doesn't matter. The repeater will come up anyway.
Thank you, Stephen.
When are we going
We
to
just
do it
need to
then?
remember that the work still needs to be done.
Yeah, when do we want to do that?
When could you guys do this?
Like 2 days from now, maybe?
Well, on your part, Chris, are you available in 2 days?
Yeah, I can be available. It's pretty
Who
easy.
has
I think it's already programmed for it, so it's just a matter of changing channels on the video.
Who has the key to the cabinet?
I've got a key.
Okay. Name a date and
I got a key
time.
I think I got a key to the gate too, so.
We can walk around that.
If not, I have keys.
Okay, we need an email to be created and sent out on distribution list. Would you be able to do that, Stephen? You have access to that email list.
Yep, I can do that. I'm just going to do that right now to make sure it gets done.
Okay, thank you.
And was I not, I believe maybe a year ago at some meeting, we had maybe mentioned that we were looking at putting tones on almost all of our repeaters. Is that true?
I recall that as well. I think we decided that we were going to start advertising that all of our repeaters required an input tone, and then adjust the actual repeaters as necessary.
Because I believe Dilworth and for sure the Little White is putting out tones, and I believe Dilworth puts out tones already. I think a bunch of our repeaters are outputting tones. It's just they're not inputting.
Yeah, there's no downside for us to list an input tone, because the repeater is going to come up with or without the tone, until such time as we configure it to require the tone. So we should probably start advertising our 88.5 input tone on all of our repeaters.
Yeah, if you don't
Stephen,
do
do you still have the website up there? Can you just make those changes now?
Yeah, I will. I'll adjust those right after I finish the email, and I'll comment in the email that we're doing that.
Okay, Jeff has his hand up. Jeff?
Yeah, if you don't actually put a message on the repeater ID or something, the poor person from out of town may never get into any of our repeaters because they might not know of any way to find the tone, unless they really know their Kenwood radio or something like that. Then they could scan for the tone, but it would be a nuisance to drive into a town and not be able to pull any of the repeaters up because you don't know which of the 20 tones to put on them.
Yeah, I have no opposition to publicly advertising the tone. We're not trying to keep out a nuisance. We're trying to keep out interference.
Yeah, it just has to be part of the idea. You know, this is the Dilworth repeater that requires a tone, 88.5. I mean, that's all you got to say.
Okay. John, you have your hand up. You're next.
Yeah, I just know myself from experience when I'm driving around through different towns on holidays, and there's a repeater that requires an input frequency. It's easy enough to look up, but just a bit of a pain in the ass to program unless you've done it ahead of time. So I know a 6.8 certainly would require an input tone. I'm not sure about the others. I haven't seen a problem with spurious noise on the input to a Little White, for example.
Okay, we have Alan with his hand up next. Go ahead, Alan.
Alan? Where's that one?
Have to hit spacebar, Alan.
Yeah,
Oh, it's press to hold, Alan.
Do I have to hold it down?
Yes, just like your radio.
Okay, I was just saying I will advise the Coordination Council and the BC Coordination Council that we're eventually putting on the input of all our repeaters, and he can adjust those on the website.
Thank you, Alan. That's a good. Okay, Chris, back to you. Any more new items?
No, that's all I got.
Okay,
Back to
let's
you,
move
Rob.
on. Okay. Move to Rob. You're next on my list here.
Oh, I don't have anything else for the meeting.
Okay, thank you for attending, Rob. Next, I have John. Any items for the tech committee, John? Did we lose you, John? Okay, we'll come back to John. Doug, you're next. Anything for the tech committee, Doug?
No, just a bystander today, but sounds good to me, everything that's been talked about.
Thank you for attending, Doug. Now, Gary.
The only thing I was going to add is I will try to get up to Cedar Creek just to take a look at that 160 wire antenna configuration as well, just so I'm a little more familiar with it before I volunteer.
You already volunteered. It's too late to change.
Copy.
Thank you for coming, Gary. Jeff, anything for the tech committee tonight?
Nothing further, thanks.
Thank you for attending, Jeff. Fred, anything for the tech committee?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Mark Weston from Parks and just wanted to reach out to let him know that we're trying to get up there and take a meter reading, just a quick trip into the site. And we've got the blessing of Parks. We can go in at will. And I'm still working on the paperwork here to catch up on finishing that project. I've been in touch with Chris Halverson from Rogers, who is quite busy, but at some point there are some batteries for us up there that we can pull out of his building, and another duplexer and an old ICOM repeater. But with COVID-19, who knows if that's actually going to happen this year. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to report. Except for my MMDVM repeater, I fried the PA, so if you're looking for DMR, it was on the air, it was working really nicely, and it isn't now.
Hey, thanks, Fred. Stephen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just had one inquiry for Fred regarding the UHF repeater at Black Mountain. Do we have any information on that one?
No, that is something that I'm trying to fix in the next 2 weeks or so. 2-3 weeks.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Tom, anything for the tech committee tonight?
Yes, I discovered that if you have your Jitsi computer in your ham shack while you're having the meeting, you can actually clean it up. It's amazing what I put away. My desk is covered, but it is getting better.
Thank you, Tom. Brian, yes, you guys have already warned Tom, as we do in elementary school, when you bring wine to the meeting, you have to make sure you ship it to everybody. Brian, thanks for showing up. Anything for the tech committee today?
No, other than did you discuss the matter of getting up to change out Big White at some time in August or somewhere?
There's been no discussion on Big White other than getting a replacement radio in the gaming fund application.
The Big White repeater, the spare, is sitting up on a shelf at Cedar Creek. So it's ready to go whenever we can get up to the site.
And we would have Tom?
Oh, sorry, you broke up there, John. Try again.
To access that site, that's a drive?
Affirmative. And I know John Semenek, he's been there before, and I believe Chris has as well.
So that's another month or so off snow goes.
Okay,
And that's the can meter on top of the cupboard on the door wall?
Affirmative. And Chris and I worked on it a few months ago before the COVID shutdown. So I was all ready to take it up there, but they'd closed the ski hill, so I couldn't do it. So it's all ready to go.
Any more questions on that, Brian?
No, other than the fact that you can actually, we're going to be able to drive up there with an appropriate vehicle, or we're going to need an ATV or what to get there in August.
We need a four-wheel drive vehicle. There's a couple of spots where it's pretty rocky, and two-wheel drive won't make it up. And there's one spot where there's you need a vehicle with a fair amount of clearance. Otherwise, you're going to get hung up. Other than that, that's about it.
When you say a lot of clearance there, Chris, is that a standard 4x4 pickup or something higher?
I think a standard pickup truck will be fine.
Thank you.
Is that like your truck, Chris?
No, I don't think my truck can make it up there.
Okay. Alan, nice to see you at the tech committee. Do you have anything for the tech committee today?
Yes, I do. Some of you, or maybe all of you, will recall I was looking for a separation cable for my ICOM dual band radio, the separation cable for the head. I eventually found one up at the club station, hidden away in a cardboard box, which was hidden away in a cupboard. Anyway, we got it, and it's working well. The same cable works on the Yaesu dual band as does the ICOM. So for now, until I get my own, I will keep borrowing the one I've got. And someday it'll magically reappear back at the club station. Anyway, that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I think we had a good meeting tonight. There's been a lot of discussion. Last chance for anyone with any new item to discuss. And I see John got his hand up. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, apparently if you have your mouse on the second screen, the spacebar doesn't work as a push to talk. That was the issue before. And when you have this 160 loop party planned, give me a shout. I'd like to get out there as well. And that's it, I think.
I wrote your name down there, John. Fred has his hand up also.
Okay, the one thing I forgot to mention is that the way things are looking right now, I'm probably going to try to go in on the 15th up to Okanagan to read the meter and try to coordinate that with Jesse and Darcy to have a quick look at what the installation would look like for search and rescue. So there is an opportunity for other folks to come up if they wanted to. But it would be just a quick trip in and out. There would be an installation date at some other point later on in the month.
That's June 15th?
That's what I would pencil in right now.
Thank you for that info. I may be out of town, so I can't join you. Would like to go up there one day soon.
Has anybody said anything about the trying to get the agreement with COSAR on that thing?
I have only had a discussion with Darcy and Jesse before I actually got the information about the potential leverage that they were trying to use of moving our cans. So I haven't talked to them since.
Oh, okay. I sent the agreement that Robert had written up to the president of COSAR and for his perusal, and that was about a week ago. So I haven't heard anything since. So hopefully, I may have to put a prod in it just to see. But then again, they may have trouble getting their ducks in order.
Yeah, my focus is simply read the meter and coordinate mostly with Jesse how that would look like if he's doing the installation. And I don't have a lot of time anyways, so it's just to see how the site did over winter and get the heck out. So I'll report back the meter readings as soon as I have them and take some pictures.
Yeah, no, I only put it out there to see whether anybody had heard anything, but I will be dealing with it. It's okay. Thank you much.
Okay, next we got Stephen would like to talk, then Gord would be after him.
Hey Fred, that battery charger that's up there, can we control the float voltage on it easily?
There are, I think, 2 dip switches, and you can go into, I think it's a gel flooded 2-stage and or DC UPS mode, and I think we're running in the DC UPS mode right now.
Okay, I was just thinking that because we've got panels up there, we should probably switch it so that it's floating at the lower voltage, so that most of our solar is actually getting consumed.
What I was thinking, and that is an easy thing I can do, is I can plug it into the Wi-Fi power bar and turn it off in the daytime and turn it on at nighttime. And that way, it's all the charge you can, and then just at the end of the day, tops it off with the battery charger.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, because it just doesn't make sense to be floating those panels without using the watts coming in from them.
I'm really impressed with that cheap little power bar. I wish there were more available. That's how I'm dealing with that problem with the camera right now. I just set up a schedule and bring it up 3-4 times a day to go and just grab an image and then shut down again, right? So I can do the same with the controller. It's easy.
Perfect.
Power supply, I should say.
Okay, thanks, guys. Gord, your turn.
I just wanted to comment that Jeff's paint job on the top of the can did not perform as well as we had hoped it would, Jeff. You notice there's a little bit of blue showing through there. You can pick it up if you check the camera.
Yeah, interesting. Of course, I wasn't the only one that painted the top of the can, but that would be expected that would weather first.
Yeah, actually, I think it was Bob that was playing around up there, but he wasn't here to pick on tonight.
Yeah, and there was about 3 of us on the top of that can, I think. Anyhow, I got to go, gentlemen, so I will say au revoir and have a good night, 7-3.
Thank you for attending, Jeff. Alan, you got your hand up. To save your wrist, there's a little button down on the lower left hand with a hand. You click on it, I get an indication that you want to speak. Go ahead, Alan.
Button with a hand. I'll find it later. I'm just going to tell Stephen that his email came through to my computer just fine.
Excellent. Thank you for the heads up.
Last chance. Anything more for discussion? Yes, Fred got his hand up.
One more thing. I've kind of made plans to put up a 220 megahertz repeater on Okanagan as well. So if any of you have any 220 gear that can transmit, please let me know. That is good, because I may need you to test with me, because there's not a lot of gear out there. But
Bob got his hand up.
Yeah, most of the FTM 400s, 100s, a lot of the handhelds and mobiles will actually pick up 220. So you can at least listen in, and it'll be a crossband repeat repeater with UHF in as well. So you can go in on UHF and come out on 220.
Thank you, Fred. Anything more? Okay, I want to thank everyone for attending this meeting. Most I will be holding the next one also. We'll do it the same way and not like the brown bag long name for the meeting. It's just going to be called tech meeting like we had tonight. I think that's the same one I used previous months. So any comments, I appreciate, and thank you very much for everyone attending.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Brian.
Good night, guys.
Good night. 7-3.
See you guys.
Anybody's interested, the 2 meter sideband net is on right now on 144.20.